have to be willing to look in the mirror and recognize that, like, look, you're expecting them to always get better and always change. You have to be doing the same thing. Whatever that means for you, it's hard, right? We talk about refereeing a lot, the self-reflection period after games, talking with your counterparts, see what could I have done differently to avoid that situation. It's no different in coaching. Like, we should be striving to be better in how we communicate, how we organize, how we flow through drills, how we talk to parents, all these different things. So I tell the kids that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect. I don't expect you to be perfect. Let's have that dialogue. Let's try to grow together. And if you really want to go to the next level, you can't have mom and dad pushing you to do it all the time. You've got to have to want to do it yourself for the right reason. You have to love the grind. You have to love the work that it takes to get there.
One message for young athletes.
Yeah, I think one message I'd say is work hard and support your teammates. That's the end of the day. To me, that's the two biggest foundations. Everything for me is work hard, support your teammates, and enjoy playing.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Fighting for Overtime podcast. I'm your host, Coach Tony. As always, have another fantastic guest. We'll get to that in a minute. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you know the drill. Wherever you get your podcast from, whatever platform, social media platforms for the clips, just follow. Now, my guest tonight, brought you a local person, okay? Jason Scanlon, president, Warminster Soccer Club, Varsity Girls Head Coach, Villa Joseph Marie High School. Okay, let me introduce him for a second because that just doesn't do him justice. Husband, father of 5, longtime youth soccer coach, 8 years at Nativity of Our Lord, 3 AOP championships, 9 years coaching travel soccer with Warminster Soccer Club, 6 years as president, we're going to hear some stories, of Warminster Soccer Club, and recently completed his first season as Varsity Girls Head Coach at Villa Joseph Marie, 12-7-1 record, district championship, win over Springfield, 3-2 thriller. Jason has been building teams, has been building not just teams, but a community around youth soccer in Bucks County. My man, thanks for joining me, brother.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, this is kind of like, you know, I'm trying to pay you back for you dealing with me as a coach for all those years.
And those are fun. My wife remembers too. She asked me that. Oh, I remember him. Wasn't he on my back deck once?
Yeah. Everybody
playing in Perlini one time.
It was all, you know, for those who don't realize, it's true, just full truth. I was a pain in the ass at times. Okay. There was inter-county calls to Jason. This guy, you got to get this guy to calm down. Like I was a rebel rouser a little bit, I would say.
Trust me, there's a lot worse. You're good.
I did my best. But listen, man, honestly, I love having people like you on because I say this all the time. I know everybody goes like, and I don't want to downgrade you, but it's like you see all these national names out there, right? But locally, there's so many great coaches that are doing great things that nobody even talks about, right? Sure. So that's why you're here. And that's why I wanted to start this, man, because you do. Listen, I watched you give everything, man. Your shirt off your back to people, your time as being a father of 5, correct? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Father of 5, husband, and still trying to be a president, a coach. Yeah. Man, like number one, when did you decide that I was like, I want to be a coach? Was it I want to coach soccer, or was it the email that came out after you signed one of your kids up and said, we need coaches?
It's a good question. I thought about that a little bit heading into this. How did I get into it? And it's funny because I started before I had kids. I loved sports, played 3 sports growing up, grew up in a family just all around sports all the time, and the culture that it creates and team bonding. I always loved it. Played in college, played volleyball in college, and my coach at St. Joe's, I ended up working the same company for him after graduation. And he was also coaching a travel girls volleyball team, a high school team. And he asked me to come be an assistant coach with him. And that's what started it. I coached 1 year with him. It was it was the year after my wife played lacrosse internationally for 1 year, came back from that trip, started coaching travel volleyball for a year. First experience coaching high school. You know, I'm in my mid-20s, I guess, at that point. And then we found out a few months later, she was pregnant with our first. So I stopped coaching for a little while.
Okay.
You know, just to kind of start the family thing. And then picked it back up, you know, with Warminster, really, when my daughter started playing soccer. And she played intramural, everything was good. She was young. And then had a call from a friend saying, hey, they're looking for a travel coach for U9. And I said, well, my she was a U8 at the age. She was underage. And they said, it's okay. She can play up. They just we know you love soccer. So she's always played up ever since then. And that's kind of how it started. And then of course they find out you have 5 kids and they just suck you in more and more.
Of course,
right?
man. I know how you guys roll.
But it's great, and you always have to remind yourself why you do it, because it's, been through it. It can be exhausting. It's a drain on the family at times, and it's emotionally exhausting. And there's been times where you're with people and you're thinking, God, why am I doing this? And we've had that experience on the board. I mean, I tell that story all the time at the Perlini Award every year.
Yes.
And so it's remembering why you do it that brings you back, and sometimes you need that break.
You definitely need that break. I'll tell you, man. So you're saying your wife played international lacrosse? What do we have, like a Kelsey powerhouse family here, man?
Yeah. Well, up until this past spring, she's been the president of Upper Moreland lacrosse program.
Oh, wow.
So that's more her sport. She played soccer and lacrosse at St. Joe's, and she ended up playing for the Dutch national team in the World Cup back in 2009. So she's got a lot better sports pedigree than I do. She'll remind me of, but she's at lacrosse right now coaching.
Shout out Mrs. Scanlon.
Yeah.
I like it, man. I like it. I had no idea.
Yeah. So we sort of split. So I do more of the fall soccer. Of course, now it's year round anymore. But she's got the lacrosse program.
That's it. That's so. Now, I know this is going to be a tough question because so you're still coaching, right? So you're coaching soccer at Warminster.
Yeah.
You're the president at Warminster.
Mm-hmm.
You're coaching at Villa, right? You have 5. How do you juggle it, man?
Yeah, right. I mean, you always say it's a village, right? But you got to have support. You have to have, and we told our kids this. I mean, for a long time, they stayed with Warminster local because it was convenient and easier for us. And you got to a certain age in high school when if they want to go on to college in a sport, that we gave them the opportunity to play for a second team, perhaps that travels more. But we told them, look, we can't be everywhere. We don't have a third driver in the house, and my family's 3 hours away, right? So we rely on my wife's family quite a bit, and friends and teammates on the team, and you've got to be comfortable getting rides, and we have a lot of people who have been amazing to us that help us be there for us. But we still try. I mean, thankfully, our jobs have been a little flexible because we want to see every game. We hate missing a game, no matter what level it is, what sport it is. I also coach volleyball still at Nativity for the last 3 years, and I still try to juggle that. I told them, look, I'll do it as much as I can get there. So I'll leave Villa practice and head over to Nativity most nights if I don't have a game.
That's something that I swear I know people don't see that. And I'm not saying that you're asking for a pat on the back.
No,
but I think it shows more of your commitment and your passion to the kids in the game. Yeah, that's what the big part is.
Yeah, you've got to. I mean, like I said, you've got to love doing what you do, and that's the same with anything in life. Because the amount of time you're putting into it, and I absolutely. I mean, my daughters asked me, like, "What would you do for your dream job?" And I told them I would just coach full time. That would be it. Like, if I could afford to do it and not do a day job, I would train kids if I could during a day. I would coach at night or whatever it would be. But it's. I also love the idea of volunteering. I mean, there's something different there. There's a different sort of passion there.
Yep.
Where it's not, I'm doing it for a paycheck. I'm doing it because I love seeing those kids develop and learn something new.
Now, I don't know if you're going to tell me what AOP. So, what is AOP?
She's the Archdiocese of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Which now it's their annual. Yeah, it's their end of season. I mean, it's soccer at the CYO level, just like anything with Catholic anymore, with the parishes over the last 20, 30 years with the mergers of parishes, and it's made it more challenging. The districts have combined a lot of cases, so you've got less and less teams, and which is a shame because there's a lot of special things about competing on that level. I mean, we say the prayer before games. There's a certain level of sort of sportsmanship expectations that are a little different, right? And there's certainly rivalries. I mean, Nativity with Alphonsus, St. Bede's with Andrews. I mean, there's certain rivalries with the big parishes that have lasted decades, and we usually see each other in the finals. And and you see those kids all through high school, and it's different than travel. They try to plan around travel because it's like high school representing your school.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a difference there.
No, I had a good one of my former teachers. A shout out, Mr. Oates, who was a guest on this last season. He's referee. He's heavily involved in CYO
Yeah.
In the city, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, it's just not like it used to be. You're repping your school. It's not the same, man. It's a shame. But
yeah, it is probably more on the basketball side. There's a lot more parishes who can support a basketball program than they can a large soccer team, right? So
makes sense.
Nativity, we were blessed and still continue to be where we have a huge soccer program to the point where, you don't want to do cuts and get at CYO level.
Yes.
Andre and I, the 1 year, carried 27 kids on our soccer program. And
wow.
And that was challenging. Every kid, this isn't travel. They're not paying. It's not, they're 8th grade, 7th grade kids. And so they all deserve to play.
Yep.
And so we try to schedule as many games as we can and rotate as much. The results, but we've had a lot of success. I think the school overall had won 4 in a row, AOPs. 3 of them we were part of, Andre and I, with our daughters.
Yeah, you won 3, man. You won 3 chips.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something. It was exciting.
That's awesome, man.
They're high intensity games for sure.
Now, what would you say young athletes need today from coaches? Because everything's evolved.
Sure.
And you're getting to see it on a different. You've coached them young to what's the oldest age you coach right now?
I'm a senior in high school.
You're in high school, right?
So my daughter's a sophomore at Villa right now, my oldest. But
so you see all the stages.
Yeah, and I coached my younger daughter's U6, U7, U8 team a year ago. I just kind of handed her off to somebody this past season. I needed a little help. Yeah, with Villa. But I don't know. It's a good question. I think it does vary based on age. I think the consistency there. I think you're setting a stage of expectation, right? As far as how organized you are, what's your arrival time, how's your communication skills. The nonverbal body language is so key. That's something that I don't know that I recognized when I was first starting coaching, because I played all growing up and I think I know everything, and then I'm coaching 6-7 year olds and I'm expecting them to do way more than they should developmentally at that point. And I think we as parents do that a lot. Yep. And we don't recognize where they're at with their decision making and their bodies and we expect them to suddenly they're going to train 7 days a week and they're going to be playing a national team in 2 years. So I think just being patient and am I getting the most out of them? Do they have fun? I always try to tell them, I want you to enjoy playing soccer more at the end of the year than you did at the beginning. If I'm doing my job, you're my age and you're just dying to still be part of the program. You see so many kids quit, burn out, in every sport, right? And that's always been my biggest fear with my kids is I don't want my passion to push them too hard and then they don't want to be any part of the program or the sport, right? I want them to see the positives from it. And then just, for me, I try to get myself back in shape and stay healthy because I'm dying to play soccer still. I want to play co-ed with my daughters now that they're older and get in some sort of co-ed, like the old YSC days. And that was always my dream. Can I stay healthy? And so I want them to have that same drive where they just still want to be involved at some point. So what do you need from a coach? I think it's patience, communication. It's so hard not to react because you're competitive, right?
Yep.
But they key in on. How many kids do you see look immediately to the sidelines, the stands, the bleachers, whatever, to see mom and dad's reaction when you make a mistake?
100%.
Or your coach's reaction when he goes, "Oh my gosh," or he throws a clipboard or something like that, right?
Don't throw any of my trades videos out there.
But it's so common, and then they shrink and they're afraid to make that mistake, and then they're not learning because they're playing not to make a mistake.
Yep.
So I think that was a big development for me. The other thing I tell our coaches all the time when we have our annual, our mandatory coaches meeting for the club is I think the hardest part is you have to be willing to look in the mirror and recognize that, look, you're expecting them to always get better and always change. You have to be doing the same thing. So whatever that means for you, it's hard, right? We talk about refereeing a lot, the self-reflection period after games, talking with your counterparts, see what could I have done differently to avoid that situation or whatever. It's no different in coaching. We should be striving to be better and how we communicate, how we organize, how we flow through drills, how we talk to parents, all these different things. And so I tell the kids that, like, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect. I don't expect you to be perfect. Let's have that dialogue. Let's try to grow together. So whether it's for me right now, my big thing is I'm reading a lot of different books, a wide variety of books and different topics. And that's helping me just get ideas, right? Went to the National Coaching Convention last month, January, I guess it was, in Philly.
Okay.
And that was phenomenal. Just learning from different voices, some local, some national, some international, right? So I think you have to be willing to look in that mirror and recognize that you're not perfect. How can I be better? And that, I think, is going to in turn reflect more on your kids as they're developing and learning.
I wish I would have saw that mirror a long time ago, because that was my toughest thing to be like, I need to look at myself. Like, I probably approached a lot of it the wrong way. I look back, but I'm happy with the results. But when you say that, I think
about it.
You definitely think about it.
And so, so it's funny. So when I got the job at Villa, I had the team meeting for the first time with them in the classroom, and one of the girls in the team, I coached her U9 through U12, and she ended up leaving the club and going somewhere else. And now I'm back coaching her again. And I made that comment. I said, look, and I'll just tell you, I told him sort of the same spiel about me. I'm going to promise you this. I will always try to get better and always try to improve myself. And let's have that conversation if we need to, right? I told you, the coach I was for this young lady, 6 years ago, is not the same coach I am today, because I'm embarrassed sometimes looking back at, the mistakes I made, how I may have yelled at a kid. And, I think it started for me. EPYSA used to do a DOC annual kind of event.
Okay.
I think they probably got away from it post-COVID. They haven't know if they've done a good one in a while, but I went to one of those, and there was a speaker there one time from somewhere overseas with a strong accent, which everybody loves. And he's telling a story about setting expectations in a similar manner. And he says, little Johnny's dribbling down the sidelines, and he kicks the ball accidentally out of bounds. And his dad's in the sidelines screaming, "Johnny, what are you doing?" Right? All yelling at him. And Johnny's looking there saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dad. I meant to kick it out of bounds." He goes, "What do you think Johnny's thinking right there? Like, he didn't want to kick it out. He made a mistake, but now everybody's mad at him. Now he's crushed." And I think in that moment is when I started thinking, like, do I do that? Do I yell at a kid for making a mistake when, realistically they're going to make mistakes, And I think I started a little bit more self-reflecting on how I react to certain situations.
Well, I always needed a mediator. Right. Yeah. I did. I just did.
Coach,
right. When I was at Warminster, it was Brett. And it was like, sometimes he was like, Tony. I'm like, but I can't. Like, he's like, just go take a walk for a couple minutes. Like, and it helped, because I was like, all right, I got to relax.
And to be fair, like, as well, probably as well as most, that it is a lot harder when it's your kid.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's a little expectation that you should be harder on your kid. And I certainly can be that.
Yep.
And I think I've had the similar thing where my assistant coach will take on that role. We're like, "Hey, I got it. Let me talk to her. You just keep coaching." When I sub her out and I'm fuming, like, "What do you do?" And part of it is my expectations for what I think they're capable of. But it's unfair sometimes.
It is. It's being the coach's kid is not easy.
No, it's not.
It's definitely not. My kids know that. I know your kids know that. Yeah. But we used to do kind of the same thing. It's like, he would be like, let me talk to them. Yeah. Like, all right, you go ahead, because I can't talk to them right now. Like, that probably didn't help either. But, listen, we do it for the right reasons.
No, we do. And again,
just maybe sometimes the wrong approach.
But it's, and I think there's a lot of education out there. I've seen some of your other people have been on who've talked a lot about it too, with parenting and what we could do different as parents, let alone coaches, right? But as parents. And the biggest thing I think I also come out of me doing some of these self-reflecting and is that car ride home. Like, it's the least coachable moment.
Yes.
But every parent thinks that's my opportunity to tell them all the things they did wrong. Your kid is exhausted. Your kid is mentally fried, physically fried, doesn't want to talk about it, especially if they lost, right? So they always say, like, let the kid dictate that conversation. If they want to have the conversation and they're open to it, then okay, it's different. But it's not your time to like suddenly coach them. It's probably the least coachable moment you can find as a parent. And I think that's something else I learned that I probably should have done last year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man, I vividly remember those
Yeah.
car rides, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
more. I would say for me, it was more for my daughter because at that she was the oldest, and me and my wife would have to go separate ways. My wife was taking
Sure.
the boys. I would
Yeah.
so those 1 hour rides to Reading for softball tour on the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
home.
yeah.
Sometimes they were not good conversations,
You're dead silent. Yeah.
but going up, a lot of memories, a lot of
Right.
bonding. You
Right.
know what I mean? But now, what about the difference? How do you manage competition versus development,
Right.
especially at the youth level?
I mean, a lot of it comes back to expectations, right? I mean, it's whether it's from parents or the program itself. Because I think you've got different levels, right? For travel sports, there's this feeling and fear with coaches that if we're not winning and constantly moving to the next level or going far away for a tournament, then kids are going to leave my team. Um, and at the high school level, I had that conversation again. Part of my interview process was just, what's this program has a storied history. They've had 2 coaches ever.
Wow.
My wife played for the first one, and then the Rich Finney-Frock, who just kind of left last year, had been there over 20 years. Both coaches over 20 years. And here's this little guy from Warminster who's walking in there with a little big shoes to fill, right? And they've won 11 state championships, in that time frame. So there's this expectation of winning, and it came out in that conversation. I said, we can have that as sort of a goal, right? But we have to have achievable goals. We have to have what else? Because if we don't win, does that mean the season was a failure? I remember asking that question, and I think for some of those kids, they felt like if they didn't win states, then it was a failed season. And I don't know if that's fair, because sports they're a lot different than they were 10, 15 years ago. I mean, the level of competition in this area is phenomenal.
Yes.
We talk about it even in our small size for Villa, the improvement in some of the local programs on a AA basis. It's phenomenal. It's nice to see. It's good to see. It's the growth of the sport overall, and you're going to probably see it ratchet up even more with the World Cup, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But as far as winning versus, I think the communication's key. So I've been big on setting that out ahead of time, like standards and expectations. What do I want to get out of it? Sort of the respect for each other, the respect for your opponent, the respect for referees and the rules in the game, sort of that roots environment, right? Respect for all these different aspects of the game. That to me is core, and have that conversation up front. The winning will come if they're invested in, sort of that belief in that culture, because then they're going to put more work in. They're going to work hard. They're not, it's not, too cool to act like they care. Right. And they're going to work a little bit harder. And we can get into the X's and O's and the development side of it. But if you don't have that part and all you're doing is then it's like a churning. You're just churning through it. You're willing to step over somebody to do something. And that's not the programs that I want to run.
Right.
And if that means I lose a kid, then that's okay. And that's sort of the conversation we've had a lot at Warminster, where we're not going to keep everybody. We're not going to please everybody. But if I feel like the kids are enjoying it and they are developing, and we're not holding them back, so to speak. I mean, again, you're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds. So there's this, my kids should be doing so much more. I mean, come on.
I know.
Let's level set a little bit and let them enjoy playing with friends. And it is a sport at the end of the game. It
is a sport. No, everything you said, I totally agree with.
Yeah.
I love it because, especially the buy-in thing. If you have the right culture, whether it's, not that you're going to win every game, but if you just have the right culture and these kids want to be there, they're going to buy in.
Right.
And then everything's just going to come with it. I think people forget that.
They do, but it's, I mean, that's your buzzword, right? I mean, everybody's talking about culture. And how do you do it? I mean, what's the magic in there? I mean, you've had some great people on before who have had that. And I think it differs. And I think you can't be somebody else's, you can't mimic exactly what somebody else does. You can read about, all the greats, NBA greats, and you can read all their books, but it's gotta be authentic. I think that's the core part of it is. And I remember my wife telling me that when I stepped into this role at Villa, is you still have to be you. It has to, like, they'll know if it's fake and you're putting out, you're just saying Ted Lasso one-liners all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to be authentic and part of it may be just in the simplicity of your rules and expectations. And if don't put a rule in place that you're not going to enforce, because then you lose all credibility. So I think those are some of the things that I've been trying to do. I'm grateful, lucky in a lot of respects, certainly, that Villa has a very strong culture that has been there for 40 plus years, and it's the traditions have carried on, right? So don't break what's not broken. And I can tweak little things, I can add little things, which is what I'm doing. But there is a sort of a high bar from a culture expectation.
But it's nice that it seems like they give you the freedom to explore that, because not every program is going to do that.
No. And I presented them with some of my ideas, and like, oh, that's different. I'm like, and it may not work, right? And that's okay too. Like, I know what the way I'll approach things this season, I've already, put a lot of thought into it and planned out a lot of that. It'll be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same feel. I read a book to them during that first week, and I think half they're more like, what's going on? You're like, who is this guy? Especially the seniors.
Yeah.
But I had this sort of full circle moment where it felt like, I think some of it's taking hold, some of it's sinking in, some of, what I was trying to get out of that book experience and that dialogue that it created, a month or two into the season. And it's because it's hard to tell if you're being effective. And you don't get that very often. The negative comments are always louder, so that's the hard part about always questioning yourself as a coach.
No, absolutely, man. The negative is always louder than the positive.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. Now you mentioned, speaking about that, gotta talk about our little old Warminster club. Right? And I say that it's funny because I did a segment, and it was about Brett's daughter who played with Lou, right? And she was a very good player, had opportunities, decided that I'm going to stay.
Yep.
And worked out. She's playing in college. Everything worked out. And I did a whole little old Warminster, right? Yep. Like, it was just so funny because it showed that you can still get to where you want to go. Sure. That's for you. Yeah. Now, you've been there 6 years as a president.
Mm-hmm.
What have you kind of seen evolve over those 6 years as a club?
Yeah, I think it's a deep topic because I think it gets to U.S. soccer's concern right now, and you hear a lot of it from international players playing in the MLS about how their kids are now part of U.S. soccer, and they're starting to see how much it's become this pay-to-play environment, and how, like, I think Zlatan was talking about it recently. I read an article where he was talking about how his kid pays something like $4,000 for his kid to train for this club, and he's thinking, where I grew up, nobody could afford that. And the barrier to entry that it creates to be at a high level. So I think there's power in the local community base and playing with your friends at a young age. And I'm a big firm believer, and I tell parents all the time, like, my opinion, and I think a lot of U.S. soccer supports this, is that you should be playing with your classmates, and that should be the genesis of how you start a sport. And I believe up to probably U12 until you get to that 11-11 age. And now you're talking about, hopefully they stay together and your group stays tight and you're still friends. That's my U15s right now. It's been the same group of girls all the way up. They've stayed together, and that's been great to see. And we've been intercounty elite for several years in a row now, and we don't need to win it. And because partly maybe selfishly my inability to travel all over the region, we don't do the big EDP and all this, but they've enjoyed playing together and they enjoyed playing for me. So we've just kind of kept doing what we're doing. And several of those kids are good enough and are yet to scratch their ceiling, really, as they get into high school now. If they wanted to, there's opportunities for them. But, I just think it's a shame that you see kids that are U9 one program, U10 next program, and they're just bouncing
every year.
And I again, going back, I sat on this meeting many years back, and it was the head coach of North Carolina women's soccer team. Was phenomenal, probably one of the best ever as far as soccer goes, for sure. He was meeting with a bunch of DOCs, directors of coaching in this area.
Okay.
And he said the same thing. He said, when I recruit kids, I look at that, and I don't really like to see kids that have bounced from club to club to club, because I look at that as they're always looking for the next best thing. They're not willing to put the work in necessarily. And that's a concern, right? And I think there's some exceptions certainly to that. And I think he admits the same, but it's, what we do. There's a lot of people who struggle and their kids love to play, and I want them to have a place to play. And that was always key for me. Is I think the challenge locally is there's been so many mergers of clubs that it's become really difficult. The smaller clubs are going away. It's hard for them to compete. Even on the intramural level, seeing the rec level, it's been more and more challenging for them to organize, a rec team that can compete. You've got kids playing travel who are travel level playing rec and making rec not what it should be because of the barrier to entry. So it's tough. I know that U.S. Soccer is trying to change it, but it's a really big unraveling that would take. So, it goes back to why do you do what you do? For these coaches, your kids are playing and they enjoy doing it and they're playing with their friends. Just keep coaching who's in front of you and enjoy it, invest into it, and to Brett's point with his daughter, we've had several of those kids that play in college who have come through community program all the way up. I mean, my daughter certainly can play in college, in my opinion, and we'll see in 2 years. And I've coached her all the way up from U6 up, and I don't think I do anything all that special, but I think your kid's going to develop. And then a lot of it is, I think anything in travel is, what are they doing outside of it? I mean, I had this conversation with my other daughter yesterday, actually. I said, you're good. You're very good. But like the difference between you could do nothing and probably still be very good. If you really want to be great, what are you doing when no one's looking? Because going to practice 2-3 days a week, but when you're home on a Saturday and you have nothing going on, are you just sitting in your room on your phone, or are you outside getting shots up? She's just, she loves basketball too. What are you doing? Because that's you. I mean, you hear about it on the professional level all the time, but it's no different. If you really want to go to the next level, you can't have mom and dad pushing you to do it all the time. You've got to have to want to do it yourself for the right reason. You have to love the grind. You have to love the work that it takes to get there.
It's like you shouldn't have to be told.
Right.
I used to have that conversation with my kids all the time. It's like, listen, if I had to tell you to go outside and kick a soccer ball, you really don't want it.
You probably don't want to do it. Yeah.
Right. Which is fine. Like, and there's varying levels. Like and I think that's what we have today is a lot of parents are forcing these kids to do it. Yeah. And then I think that's where the burnout comes in. They're not loving it anymore.
I mean, some of my best friends in high school went through that with wrestling, where they were burned out, and they were phenomenal youth wrestlers, but they did it so much. Their parents pushed them. They traveled all over for these tournaments, and then they didn't want to do it in high school. They quit. So you hate to see it. So I mean, I don't know. It's an ongoing conversation for sure.
It definitely is. Now, obviously, if anybody listening don't know, Warminster has their Prolini tournament every Labor Day weekend.
We still do, yeah.
They still do that, which helps obviously bring things in. And I don't want to misquote, but I had another guest on, and I was saying, I remember when I was coaching that you guys did have a few scholarships that were offered to kids that maybe, do you still are? How are you guys able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're a nonprofit. We are small. We try to keep our budget, to break even, right? That's your goal. Yep. And so I tell kids, so we have the conversation with coaches and we say, look, I don't want finances to prevent a kid, playing. And whether that means they need to maybe it's a payment plan, or maybe there's a half scholarship we can work out, and maybe they can help volunteer in some capacity. I mean, we can't, unfortunately, we pay for the referees, and fees have gone up, which is a good thing. Referees, I mean, it's a good gig. It's a really good gig. So my kids are doing it, right? I think it's a lot of work, and they deserve the pay. And there have been some good pay raises in recent years. But everything's gone up, just like everything else outside of sports. I mean, the cost of facility management, the fields, our field management has gone up significantly in the last 6 years. So uniforms, of course, all that apparel gear. So for us, it was always giving a little bit of flexibility to the teams that have the individual conversations with families. But it is challenging. And I think it gets to, we try to let the teams manage themselves to some extent. And so we talk about trainers and we say that, you guys, there's no restriction. If you guys you have a team that wants to do a trainer, wants to pay to go to indoor facilities, whether it be fundraising or you do team dues or whatever that may be for your individual team, we'll support you in that. But we want to try to make it easy to just get out there and play. And so we'll try to keep that registration fee as low as possible. And that sometimes is a big selling feature, certainly, particularly for the younger kids. You know, my kid wants to try the sport, but they're not going to go pay $3,000 as a U9 kid.
Yep.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yep. No, and Warminster's always been the most reasonable, in my opinion. Not because I was there, but when you look around in the community, what you pay and what you get. I mean, listen, man, it's I appreciate
doable. That. I mean, we put a lot into it. I mean, you know, our fields.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to have grass fields, and we try to have the best grass fields. I mean, we put a lot of our budget, to be honest with you, goes into that. And you know, Lou used to do that.
Lou was the field guy,
one of my
man. Field
guys. Now Pat and Brian Dayton.
I remember.
He's doing all the fields. Those guys are killing it. And it's a lot of. I mean, heck, you'll see me up there all the time. I'm there. Pat and I will be up there lining the fields and cutting them, and always freaking out about them. The nets getting moved. We've got cameras in the buildings because we had graffiti. We had our shed broken into last fall. They stole our golf cart and graffitied the building, and so you know that's you see that it is a shame, and thankfully they didn't turf the field up too bad. But yeah, I mean we want that to be so Perlini is that kind of that moment where we can step back and you just see, you know, we go to Monroe and there's 7 fields in action, sometimes 8 fields in action on that one day all at once, and it's just a sea of people, and you've got food trucks everywhere, and it's a beautiful day out. We've touched wood. We've gotten real lucky in recent years with the weather. It's really nice to see. And I'll always remember driving Mrs. Perlini before she passed in the golf cart. She came in, you know, every year the family comes as we present the Perlini Award, and Mrs. Perlini came, and I just remember her looking around and just in awe of how big it's become from when her, you know, in honor of her late husband. So that's special. And I think the township recognizes that. Parks and Rec has been huge in supporting us, and you know they come out to the event now.
Okay, that's great.
They usually come on Saturday and as part of the award and walk around and enjoy it. So
it's always a great weekend, man. Yeah. It was
it's exhausting when to get there. It feels so good.
Yeah, especially because teams do have to work it, right? I remember we were on. I was on it twice because I had 2 kids, but you know what though, a lot of memories that day.
It's. I mean, you don't recognize. You go to enough tournaments in the areas or anywhere really, and it is. And I've talked to a lot of tournament directors in the area, and it is really, really hard to find volunteer help.
Yes.
And I remember I had a parent one time talking about it, and we were talking about paying dues or running, you know, or
being like
doing fundraising. And he's like, look, I'll fundraise all day long. He's like, we're one of those families who struggles. And if that means volunteering, I'll put time in. But we're lucky to have a lot of that at the club. But it has become more and more challenging, and it takes a lot of man hours and a lot of people. I mean, we obsess over the parking. We obsess over sort of that experience throughout the day. And we have neighbors to the park, so we're obsessed over the cleanliness of it and how do we maintain it so they allow us to come back each year. I mean, tenant is one of them, and we always end up every year. There's a different challenge that we try to learn from and get a little better at, but it is quite an experience.
It is, man. It's fun. I mean, like I said, you struggle thinking about how much work you're gonna put in, but when it does, it is pretty phenomenal when you look back, and had so many great memories with it. It was really, really cool. Really cool. Now, as a girl dad, and I ask this question and a lot. You have a decade coaching girls in travel. What stands out about coaching female athletes?
Oh, they're a lot easier. They listen. They tend to.
True.
They definitely listen. Pat and I joke about it a lot, and he'll say that you only have to tell them once to do something, whereas you got to tell the boys 3 times, and then they still question it. Like, the girls do listen, right? But I don't know. It's I think I've only really experienced it to this point. I mean, I've coached all girls teams up to this point, and I love it. They get excited in a different way. The competitiveness, they're just as competitive. I mean, there's certainly no shortage there.
Yep.
What they're capable of doing. I mean, we don't set any, as a girl dad, we don't set any limits for our kids. We don't say, hey, be careful. And that was always a big thing for me. Like, treat them like you would any other. I mean, you want to protect them just like you would your son. but trust them that they can handle it, and that they're learning the right way. But it is fun. I mean, it's just different. I mean, the non-emotional, I talked about the non-verbal cues is a big part of that. Like how I react, how open am I, my body language. I think that is a big part of it.
Yep.
And again, I leaned on, I've read a lot on that too. I mean, the Coach Anson from North Carolina, he coached boys at North Carolina to begin, and then he went over to girls, and he talks a lot about the differences. The collegiate level, he coached both for a while at North Carolina. And there are differences, and it's okay to say there are some differences. Like, I mean, we aren't the exact same, but they, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Sort of the camaraderie, the joking back and forth that we can do a little bit. I'm certainly trying to learn from. I feel very old coaching the high school kids now, but no idea. And then I always say something that's like 3 months, not cool anymore. Yeah. Like I hear this term because my middle school kid says it, and then like, no, you can't say that.
No, you can't say that, man.
All right,
you can't say that.
But I try to be cool, and then I come off looking more like a dumb dad. But
you know what? You get the A for effort.
Yeah,
they appreciate that, and then you lighten the mood up because they're all laughing at you anyway. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I say there's, like, again, for me, experiencing both, first with the girls and then with the boys. I don't think there's any difference. Now, I love my boys, but coaching girls is great.
I mean, they develop at different stages, right? So when they're going to hit their peak, like girls at a younger age tend to be a lot more coordinated and athletic quicker, I think, than the boys do.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
And I think so the speed of play is a little bit different at certain points. And so, but then you start to get to this leveling out point. And then I think it's just how they interpret information is a little different.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that I'd say. I mean, having refereed both, I'll love reffing girls any day. Boys that chatter, the cursing, the talk back on everything.
Yep.
That's challenging.
That's the difference.
And so I don't know, because I look at the coaches and I wonder how they deal with that on a daily basis. I think girls can be a little more respectful to their coaches, at least what I've seen. I mean, but again, you've coached both, so
you get less from the girls than you do with the boys. Right?
Yeah.
The boys are always the attitude. They're always like, I'm better than you, like, kind of like all the time. The girls, they give you like the eyes and it's the body language. The girls more than what they say.
Right. I think with some of the things I've read, like girls oftentimes they want to understand why, and then they're like, okay, then they'll do it. Where I think boys question it a lot more. Yeah, and they think they know. Yes. Well, we should be doing this. Whereas girls, I think if we can explain to them, this is why we're doing this. This is what this. Then I think like, okay, and then we're going to do it.
Yeah. I agree with that.
To that.
I agree with that. Now we touched on Warminster, we touched on Villa. Yeah. I just talk a little bit about youth sports in general, and a really good question I'd like to get everybody's opinion on is are kids specializing too early in one sport? Yeah. Where's your stance on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've had the benefit of being part of Warminster where we encourage that.
Yep.
And
I agree.
And, I try to tell our coaches to like be patient and have an understanding in that. I mean, it's important to me. I think not only from a physical perspective, right? The cross training, the kids are just so specialized in one sport and they're never taking a break from it. And I've seen it, the injuries that start to pile up by the time they hit high school because of the overtraining.
Yes.
Especially with girls with knees and the complications that come from that. But I love them to experience it because who knows? I mean, kid that says that I only play defense and I only play soccer and I play year round. I mean, I think that is way too isolating of an environment. So I love, and I tell all the girls at Villa this all the time, like, you have to be comfortable playing all over the field. You're going to learn things from different sports, and we try to equate it to one another all the time. I'll say to them, listen, girls, when we're defending a corner kick, and I was thinking about this the other day because we struggled a bit defending corner kicks this past fall, but a lot of these girls play basketball, right? And I watch inbound plays underneath the hoop in basketball, and they're in each other's jerseys. Like they're tight.
Yes.
But when we're on the soccer field in the 18, we're afraid to touch each other all of a sudden. And what's the difference?
Like, what's going on
What's the difference? So we need to get more physical so we can try to prevent them off running their line where they want to get to, and we can time the clearance better, right? So I'll try to equate that oftentimes. And my wife does the same thing in lacrosse. She talks about it oftentimes. Like there are so much similarities there, but I want them to play multiple sports. I will always try to support them. Because who knows, what they're going to find a passion in. I mean,
True.
And I think it becomes more and more difficult. My second right now is doing, so this spring she plays AAU basketball, which she loves. She's a really good soccer player, and I think I'd like to see that be her future. I think she's got a really bright future there. But she's also a really good lacrosse player, and so she's doing all three this spring, and that's tough. I mean, that's a lot on her physically, and she had some knee issues last spring that held her back a bit. And so as much as we can support her, we'll try and let her do these things. But then we also got to warn her, like, you need a break. Your bodies need a break. High school seasons are ridiculous with the expectations on the body. There's no break at all. And I think you almost get looked at poorly if you give the kids a break, but they need it. Like, their bodies can't recover from it. We don't give them time to. So that's always on my mind. I think you mentally need the break. I think switching to different sports, you see things a little differently. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of cross training, trying different things, whatever that may be.
I agree. I've always been, and I mean, that was great when I came over to Warminster, and it's the first thing I heard you guys preach, because like that's all I've ever preached. Like I don't want you to stop. Why should you stop playing?
Right.
Like, I think maybe the discussion becomes like prioritization based on the season, right? Like I've talked about this before. Like what soccer still fall main,
right?
So it's like, okay, well, if spring is baseball main, and I know fall ball, so it's a little different, but still, it's like at least maybe shift the priorities. Not saying, but I think that was kind of the way that I tried to do it.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to communication and being upfront about your expectations, so you're not, pulling the rug or disappointing somebody, or you're committing and you're not committing. I mean, we had that conversation with her basketball coach, like, hey, look, this is basketball season. She's fully committed. She also still playing soccer, because I can remember in high school, my soccer coach hated it when I was wrestling, and then my wrestling coach hated it when I would play indoor soccer, because they were so afraid of, and then my volleyball coach would get all fired up about me playing soccer in the spring. But at the end of the day, like, I loved it, and then they didn't stop me from doing it. They didn't love it because they're afraid I was going to get hurt and not be available. But I'm glad I did it, because each experience is a little bit different. And I didn't get burned out as a result.
And that's the thing, when you don't specialize, your mind's going to different areas and less likely to get burnt out. I mean, honestly, but you just touched on something though. It's another issue that goes on is a lot of schools that try to dictate, right? I mean, nobody in particular, just like, you should, no, you're not going to play. If you play for your club team, you're not playing, or like, I don't know how that can be possible. I understand the premise. You just said it. You don't want the kid to get hurt. I get it. But how you take that experience away from them, I don't understand.
Yeah, and I'm a big supporter of that. I always have been. Particularly, I think it depends. I mean, you've got, because again, we talk about the wear on their bodies. So if you're in the middle of soccer season and you're on a high school team and you're playing varsity, and you're relied upon on that varsity team, and you're playing 5 days a week, right? And then you're going to go play at a high level club on a Saturday or Sunday, maybe even practice doubling up, which I think is way too much. Then that's you're not giving your body any break. But you've got some of these kids who are playing JV, or they're not getting as much playing time. And for them, like, they should be playing. I mean, give them a chance to get out there and play in the fields more, and they're going to get more out of that. And it's tough. I mean, to your point of taking it away, I mean, these are the kids they grew up with in a lot of cases, that they've been playing with, and those coaches, and all due respect, those are the guys who got them to where they are today.
Yes.
And I think that's tough. I mean, that's why they are the player they are today, because they played in this club for this long. And
it's true.
So I don't want to take that away from them. I think, when you get to the varsity junior, senior age in particular, and kids are starting to play like a late fall season. And maybe they're just getting together here and there to stay in touch.
Yep.
We did that a little bit with our U17 team last fall, where, let's just get together once a week just to kind of stay in touch with each other. And then we played a late fall, and that was effective, and it kept kids going. But yeah,
there's a lot to it, man. And I don't think there's right, but you hit on it. Like, if a kid's just riding the bench on a JV team, and he's not, like, the kid, he needs to play. Go and get better play.
I don't think it's right to say, hey, I'm not going to play you if you're also playing club.
Right.
And one or the other. Like, I feel
it's hard. That's a hard thing to do. It
Yeah, I
is.
don't support
Unfortunately, it happens.
It does happen.
Let's
And
be
to me,
honest. But
yeah,
it's all about how you deal with it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, speaking of that, what would you say? How can parents best support their athletes without adding that extra pressure on them, if that's possible?
Yeah, I mean,
especially as they get older, because I think it gets worse as they get older.
right. I mean, we always say like, let the coaches coach, and you can be their cheerleader. You be their encouragement. You be their positive support system. There's ways you can support. I mean, I think so much of it is in between the ears. That and the physical, letting their bodies heal, right? I mean, you should be helping them with learning what proper nutrition is, and not just letting them eat junk food and not hydrating and drinking sodas all week, because that's not going to help their bodies. As they need so much for their bodies to grow, their muscles to grow, and all that. But the mental part of it is so hard, and you're adding more pressure to. I mean, my wife and I talk about it a lot with my oldest right now, because of all she's doing with multiple sports. And I just dropped her off at Rita's to go work tonight, but she had play practice earlier tonight after lacrosse practice earlier after school. So, and then she's still got a 4.0 GPA right now. So she's doing phenomenal, but I worry about that stress building on her, and I can see it at times. And I think it's okay to say, hey, you're going to take this night off. And as coaches, I think we should respect. And I tell my parents that, like, listen, school comes first. You are a student athlete, not an athlete student.
Thank you.
So let's emphasize the future and what's important to them the most. And I don't want this to become so stressful again that they burn out or they hate it and they have a bad experience. So I think recognizing that and being okay with saying, hey, it's too much. Let's just take a break. Let's take a day, maybe take a day off from school. Take an unexcused absence. Your perfect attendance record goes away. I mean, who cares? Like, let's take a day off and call a mental health break, sleep in, whatever it takes. You have to do that now and again.
I agree, man. I had to say, and I love that you just said you're a student athlete. And it was funny. I was very, very strict with that. And I would have kids, I would make them let me know, like, I want to know how they were doing in school.
Yeah, right.
And I'd be like, a couple kids, a couple times were like, Coach, I'm doing good. I'm like, that's not what I heard. Yeah, but my mom's okay with that. I said, yeah, but I'm not. Yeah. So guess what? Until you get better, you're off. Get off. Right.
Yep.
Like, and I felt like, okay, some people like, dude, it's a little harsh. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like I'm not playing my part if I'm not like that.
Right.
It's different if a kid's struggling because he just can't do it.
Right.
But if you get inside the workings of it, you're like, this kid's very capable. He just doesn't want to do it. Well, then we have to have a conversation.
Yeah. And you want to be that as a coach. You want to be there for them to support them in that way. And I'll encourage them. I want to know about their day. I want to know about what they did. And I tell you, it's challenging. I mean, we had 51 kids in the program last year for Villa, and let alone my Warminster kids and then 70 kids I'm dealing with. But I try to make that personal connection and understand what's going on, because you don't know. I mean, what's going on at home, what's going on with siblings, with extended family members. There's so much that they deal with, let alone the social media. I mean, there's so many avenues there that I just think we don't have to add more as parents. And if they say it's too much, don't force them to do it.
I agree.
They're going to resent you more for it. And it's going to lead to that domino and taking out something else.
I totally agree. So social media could be a whole nother discussion one day.
Podcast.
But here, we're going to finish this up with a little, I like to do a little rapid fire fun ending. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, right? Nothing degrading or anything like that. Don't get scared. No jigsaw questions here. Most underrated and most overrated soccer drill.
Soccer drills? Underrated and overrated.
See, that's where I put you on the spot. You need that,
that
music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so underrated. I think there's value in just a real simple. I mean, people are obsessed with rondos anymore. Everything is rondo this, rondo that. Yep. And there is simplicity in that. The key in anything to me is touches. So the most overrated is cone drills, in my opinion, where you're the old school, we're just going to weave through cones. And because you're not getting enough touch, you have too much standing in lines. Anything that involves that to me is so overrated. But most parents who don't know what they're doing, that's what they default to.
It's an easy default. Yep.
And the biggest thing we tell new coaches is don't bother. Just roll the ball out there and play. They're going to learn more from playing than they are doing just cones.
I agree.
So that to me is overrated. There's so little you're getting out of that. You're not getting enough touches, and there's very little decision making. Right. So something that challenges your decision. So Underrated to me is there are a variety of rondos that create more than one decision, not just I'm going to stand in a circle and pass the next person in the circle, but, can I create 5 passes and break a line to get into another square? This sort of over the river type of a form. Like, I love that simplicity of a drill, but it creates so much more rapid fire decisions, and you're hustling to get to the next one. And there's a little bit more to it there. That to me, I think is an underrated basic, because you see that everywhere on the pitch. You're creating those angles everywhere, and you're trying to always break that line.
I like that. I like that.
That's one of my favorites.
I like that. The cone thing is so true, though. I do. I agree with you that. Toughest team that you faced this year, and it's up to you if you want to say it's for Villa or you want to say it's for Warminster. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, so you saw our record. I mean, I think we had a really great season. We don't dodge any. I mean, we're small, really small school. We played we played some of the biggest schools in the state. I mean, we played North Penn, we played CB East, we played Penn Charter. Phenomenal. CB East won states this year for 4A. So we played a lot of really good schools this year, which I loved. And I told the girls, we're not going to go undefeated, right? We're going to play a tough schedule and we're going to learn from it. And I would say our timing against Wood, when we played against them in the States, they were playing phenomenal soccer and they deserved every accolade they got this year. We worked hard in that game to get back to 2-2 and tie it back up after going down 2-0 early. And it was a battle. And they just had, led by some phenomenal seniors, they had so much willpower to just drive it through the finish line. That last 20 minutes or so of that game, they just took over and they decided we're not getting stopped. And then they went on and beat an undefeated team the following week. And I think it was Western Lehigh. I'm forgetting now the name, but so that team, I think, was a good team all year, battled through a lot of adversity themselves. But at that point, they were tough to unlock. I think matchup wise, strategy wise,
like they put it all together right there.
And it was tough too, I think, because we knew them so well. Having coached them, we played them last year in states, the first round of states. So you're just, the chalkboard, every single player, all their tendencies, and you think it'd make it easier, but it doesn't. It's like a chess match. But they were a heck of a team, and I was happy to see what their success they had.
Shout out Wood. Favorite coaching moment this year? You could pick one.
Yeah.
Sure, there's plenty.
Yeah, there are plenty, and you're always looking for them. I think for me personally, we talked about, did I make an impact? And I told you I had rolled out this book, and it was, again, me trying to set a stage for culture and what expectations are. And it's a book called The Hard Hat about Cornell lacrosse program. And it's a really, really good read. And there's a line in there where they talk about that the main character had a paper mat or a paperweight on his desk that said, "Well done is better than well said." That was his line, right? So that line comes up throughout the book a lot. Well done's better than well said. So we read this book in the first week. And so there's 2 parts to this, right? My coaching moment. One was, I'm presenting this and we're going to read a couple chapters after tryouts each week. And it's just, I'm going to create a couple questions for these people. And whereas we circle up at the end, what's your favorite part of playing for Villa? What's the biggest culture thing that you love about Villa? And those are some of the questions, maybe who's a good teammate and why, some basic questions like that. Right.
Right.
So the very first day I did this, no idea what's going to happen. And it's 9:00 at night at 3 hours of tryouts. And the coaches were probably wondering what I'm doing too. And it's crickets and it's just no one's answering. God, I blew it. First day, fell on my face.
20-year tradition.
Right. And then sure enough, one of my senior captains raised her hand and she spoke up after what felt like this long pause. And then somebody else raised their hand and added something. And then the third person. And I was like, okay, they're getting it. Second day that happens again. So a month goes by and they decided they want to do their own pictures. The seniors, and so they did on a Saturday morning. They got a photographer. I wasn't part of it. And they got these pictures done. So I saw them after the fact, not just seniors, but the varsity did it and JV did separately. They created a backdrop for their pictures. They did it themselves. One of the seniors did. And they had a couple sayings like always Villa and the logo and such. And one of the sayings in the backdrop, I noticed it said, "Well done's better than well said."
Beautiful.
And I was like, oh my God, it stuck. They got something out of it, so that was cool for me to feel like nothing was said to me. There wasn't anything like, "Hey, coach, I love that."
Yep.
But I kind of saw it through a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Man.
that was cool.
I love it. I love it. That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's definitely when everything comes full circle.
Yeah.
For sure. Two more. One piece of advice you could have for youth coaches.
Yeah.
Just getting started. What are you gonna tell them?
Yeah, you don't have to know soccer to be a good coach. You don't have to know basketball to be a good coach. You don't have to have played it your whole life or played collegiately to be a good coach. I think that's, even when I took this job, because I wasn't a paid coach from a big name club that was doing ECNL, right? So I think there was a lot of that. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Why this guy? So you don't have to be that to be an effective coach. I think that's the biggest thing. Like it's how you communicate, how you teach kids. You can learn the game, but you don't have to have done it your whole life to be effective. Because a lot of those guys, for better or worse, they're not really good coaches.
I know.
So some of them are, sure, they had a lot of success, but it doesn't translate automatically. It just doesn't. And some of the best coaches never played the sport, certainly not at a high level.
That's true.
That's
true.
I think being okay with that, because I think that's a barrier. People are afraid to do it. They're afraid to volunteer, raise their hand, because like, well, I don't really know how to. Like, I could coach lacrosse. I did it with my wife a few times, and I never played, right? So, that and self-reflect. I mean, that's, to me,
looking in the mirror, like you said.
Yeah. Be comfortable. Don't be so prideful to say, I know what I'm doing every time. It's okay to make mistakes, self-reflect, and learn from it.
I love it. I love it. Now, same question, last one, but one message for young athletes. If you could give them one message, what is it right now?
Yeah, I think one message I'd say is work hard and support your teammates. That's the end of the day. To me, that's the two biggest foundations of everything for me, is work hard, support your teammates, and enjoy playing. Like I used to say it to my kids every day, hey, work hard, have fun. That was sort of my party message to them quite often, because, you can control that part of it. You can control the effort part. You can control your attitude, which is part of supporting your teammates. And then you have to have fun. You have to enjoy what you're doing.
You have to love it.
Yeah.
You have to love it. If you don't enjoy it, it's like a job.
Yeah.
Like I said last episode, it's like if you go to work every day, you hate it.
Yeah.
You're never going to want to do it.
No.
Right. So listen, man, it's great. Jason.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
I appreciate it all the time.
Man. This was great.
Thank you.
Listen, I do. I know you're a man of many hats. You're running around. Yeah. So just an hour of your time to me, it's very precious, and you're doing great stuff, man.
Thank you.
When's the season start? It's kind of like off season now.
Yeah, right? We are. We're trying to get together right now. I don't want to just wait till August and see him again. And I think a lot of parents appreciated me taking that approach this year, because maybe wasn't done in the past, and then the kids seem to appreciate it. So yeah, we're gonna get together spring a little bit, run around, and set the stage for off-season workouts, and hopefully
I'll have to come catch a couple games this year.
Yeah, please do.
It's fun, man. It's fun.
We're gonna do more late games. I like them under the lights. Parents can come. I had a senior. All the games are at 3:30 and 4. You know this, right? I mean, it happens all the time. I have seniors telling me their parents never seen them play
because they're not home from work yet.
Yeah, right. So I made a push this year. Like, can we schedule as many late games? We have the lights. Let's schedule as many as we can. Let parents be able to come, to let friends come to it.
See, that's what makes you such a good coach, brother.
I appreciate that.
No, seriously, that's seriously. No, really, I
want
do.
to see you can play. I mean, it's
exactly.
It's,
no, because you care.
It goes fast, and it's, I mean, and it's over. So I want those parents to enjoy it.
I agree, man. Like, as always, I appreciate it. Everybody tuning in, as always, much appreciated. Make sure you like, subscribe, and like I say all the time, it's about memories and moments, not wins and losses. So we'll catch you back here right next time. Fighting for Overtime is a Rise and React media production. If you're looking to start a podcast, if you're looking to get some direction, hit us up, let us know. We'll help you out there as well. Again, for everybody, enjoy your time, memories and moments, and keep fighting that fight. Continue to fight in overtime to make your kid have the best experience that they can have when it comes to playing youth sports.